I'm Anthony David Hobbs, and this is my Star Wars review, more specifically Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Definitely the best of the prequel trilogy, yes. I remember seeing this movie in the cinema. It was the first one to get a Certificate 12A, and afterwards I described it as a breath of fresh air. Finally, a good Star Wars film after the awful Episode 1 and Episode 2, yeah. It's the only one that comes close to being anything like as good as the original trilogy, yeah. And I suppose one of the main things I liked about it was Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi are good pals and they get along great, yes. I mean, in Episode 2, Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi, they bicker and argue throughout the entire film. Now, it's okay for buddies to bicker and argue a little bit, but only a little bit, not throughout the whole film. That's just annoying, yeah. So yes, in this one we have a good sense of friendship. They're the best of friends, and they're both on the same level. They're both fully trained Jedi Knights, yeah. And the opening sequence, yes, they fight to the finish, a great epic space battle, yeah. And so yes, you're quite satisfied at the end. It's an overall good story, yes. Well, it's a sad story, actually, but you know what I mean. You feel quite satisfied, you know, that it's very well done, yeah. And, well, Anakin Skywalker, this is the one, of course, where, spoiler alert, he turns into Darth Vader, the second half of the film. And some fans have criticised, saying that why did he turn evil so quickly? Well, not a lot of time left, is there? This is Episode 3. It's now or never. He's got to turn into Darth Vader, and all the fans knew that this moment was inevitable right from the start. And, well, Star Wars Episode 1 and Episode 2, sometimes they were too different to the original trilogy, and sometimes the opposite problem. Sometimes they were too similar. In Episode 1, a moon-shaped space station blows up, just like Episode 4. In the second one, a battle through an asteroid field, and a hero gets his arm sliced off. Too similar to Episode 5, yeah. This one is different enough and similar enough. Yeah, it gets the balance just right, yeah. And we have an epic Wookiee battle, and, well, that's significant, that, because for once, a cameo of a famous Star Wars character is not shoehorned in, yes. It makes sense that Chewbacca's in the story, because, of course, he's part of the Wookiees on Kashyyyk. He's part of the battle. A great warrior, who then becomes a smuggler in the original trilogy, yeah. But anyway, originally, George Lucas wanted to do a Wookiee battle in the first Star Wars film, but they had to cut it. They had to drop that idea because the story would just be too long. Then they could do it for the third film, but then George Lucas thought, well, we've already seen a Wookiee, so it has to be creatures we've never seen before. So he did the Ewoks. Well, in this one, we haven't seen Wookiees before, so that's why we have an epic Wookiee battle in this one, yeah. And when Anakin Skywalker turns evil, it's because Palpatine tells him, you've had a vision that your wife is going to die in childbirth. Well, a Sith can create life. He can stop people from dying. This is an ability the Jedi can't do. Only a Sith can do it. And if you join my side, then, then I can save the life of your wife, something the Jedi cannot do. So Anakin Skywalker is really at the crossroads here, yes. And he doesn't make the decision on the spot. No, there is a scene where there's no dialogue, when he's pondering, he's deep in thought, and there's this eerie music, yes. Should he betray all his friends and everything he believes in to save the life of his wife, yeah. And she's pregnant as well, yeah, there is that element to... He's not just making a decision that will affect his career personally, but the fates of millions of lives, the fate of the whole galaxy, so the stakes are really high, yeah. And also, but it shows that now Anakin, he was good for the first half of the film. Oh yes, and I suppose I have to say this. The Jedi are selfless and honourable and always do the morally decent thing, always do the right thing. In the first of the prequel films, it's 2 Jedi fighting 1 Sith, 2 against 1. In Episode 2, 2 Jedi against 1 Sith, 2 against 1. And at the beginning of this third one, Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker against Count Dooku, 2 against 1. Now, in what good guy rule book is that fair? I mean, they sort of say something like, if someone has brilliant skill, it's a fair fight. If it's 2 against 1, no. 2 against 1 is not a fair fight. However, when Obi-Wan is injured and Anakin Skywalker is on the brink of decapitating Count Dooku, He's already surrendered, and he's just about to chop his head off, and he ponders. So yes, that's against the Jedi code. The Jedi do have some standards, but he chops his head off because it's okay, because Palpatine said it's alright. So anything Palpatine says is okay. However, then Palpatine says, let's abandon Obi-Wan and just get out of here and save our own lives. And Anakin says, no, his fate will be the same as ours. So no, he won't literally do anything Palpatine says. Not at this point, anyway. And when Palpatine justifies killing Count Dooku without any trial or anything, he says he was too dangerous to be given a trial. He must be killed. And then later in the story, Mace Windu is on the brink of killing Palpatine, and Anakin says, no, he must stand trial. And Mace Windu says, he's too dangerous to be given a trial. He must be killed straight away. So, yes, all kinds of moral issues here. It's debatable whether or not certain people deserve a trial or not, yes. And originally, the Jedi Council, or most of the Jedi Council, they try to arrest him and give him a trial. He says, you will stand trial before the Senate, and Palpatine simply says, I am the Senate. There is no authority higher than me. Absolute power, yes. And also, I remember thinking once, why didn't Anakin just take Palpatine prisoner and try and force him to save the life of his wife? Well, you can't control him, can you? He's just too powerful. He cannot be controlled. He has influence over all the politicians, and on his own, he's physically much too powerful, yeah. And also, of course, Palpatine flatters Anakin. He tells him that the other Jedi don't see your full potential. They don't realise you should have the rank of Jedi Master. I will give you all the power you could ever want, yes. In addition to saving your wife, yes, he flatters him. And he makes out that this is the only way the galaxy can have peace. And Anakin believes him. Anakin has fighting skills second to none, but he's young and naive. Yes, fighting skills and the ability to tell when someone's lying to you. You need life experience for that sort of thing. Yes, yeah. And also, when he's had his face deformed, Palpatine goes before the Jedi, the political building, and says the only way we can have peace is to make the first ever galactic empire. It is not the only way to have peace. It's just one way to. Well, there is peace, yes. But at a terrible price. Everyone has to give up their freedom for that. Yes. And of course Padme sees right through it. No, this is nonsense. This isn't peace. We've all lost our freedom. She is not deceived by it. And even before Palpatine becomes the new Emperor, she starts to think, she says to Anakin, are we on the right side? You know, are we the good guys or not? The Separatists, are they really evil? Do we have any right to destroy them? Yeah. She's questioning it and everything, yeah. And then, of course, General Grievous, who's a cyborg. This is like the precursor to Darth Vader. But, okay, I'll say a few little bloopers here and there. I was always told that the Sith, in the prequel trilogy, there can never be more than two at a time, a master and apprentice. So why is it then that Darth Sidious has Count Dooku, and also General Grievous has been trained like a Sith? That's more than two at a time, isn't it? There's three of them, so that doesn't quite make sense, no. And yes, it's really impressive with General Grievous, who can fight with 4 lightsabers at a time, yeah. And, yes, eventually, I must say, the bit Yoda fights Darth Sidious in the political building. And that's symbolic, because that's what the fighting's all about, control over the galaxy, yeah. And then eventually Obi-Wan Kenobi beats Darth Vader, who's Anakin Skywalker. And it's a tragedy. He says, the prophecy said you would destroy the Sith. Well, sometimes prophecies can be misread. And, spoiler alert, that bringing balance to the Force, as the prophecy says, that's what happens in Return of the Jedi, when Darth Vader kills the Emperor. And I'm like, no, I thought bringing balance to the Force would be something new, something we've never seen before. So that was a little disappointing, yeah. Nevertheless, there's more good than there is bad. Yes, a few little bloopers, but... yes, more good than there is bad, yeah. And when Obi-Wan Kenobi beats Anakin in a fight, he takes the sword that he then passes on to Luke Skywalker. So that's symbolic, that, yeah. And Anakin has these weird yellow eyes, like Darth Maul. That's because some Star Wars fans say that the dark side, it's like a drug almost. It possesses you. It makes you go... Yes, a bit doolally, yes. It's like an obsessive feeling, yeah. So in other words, when Palpatine says the good guys and the bad guys are the same in their lust for power, well, no, there are some differences. They both want power, yes, but as Obi-Wan Kenobi says, only a Sith wants absolute power. Yeah. There is a difference between good and evil. It's not the power, it's how you get it and what you do with it when you've got it. Do you make people's lives better with the power, or do you make their lives miserable? Yeah. And, okay, another little blooper. C-3PO has his mind wiped. That explains why he doesn't recognise Tatooine in Episode 4. However, it doesn't explain why doesn't Obi-Wan Kenobi recognise him, and why doesn't Obi-Wan Kenobi recognise R2-D2 later? yeah, that's a bit of a mistake there. And when we see the Death Star in its most primitive state, why did it take them 20 years to make it? I would have thought with all their resources they'd make it quicker, but yeah. But in spite of this, yes, we see the blockade runner. It does tie in nicely to the original trilogy, yes. And better acting. I just have to say it, better acting. All this silly, stiff wooden acting seems to have disappeared, yeah. So better acting, better story, all the characters have a motive for what they're doing, and it all makes logical sense at the end. So yes, without a doubt, the best of the prequel trilogy. Okay, thank you for watching. I'm Anthony Hobbs, and I'm never bored.